Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Richard Boocock, Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer, and Special Advisor to the Chairman, Air Products. Mr. Richard Boocock is responsible for Air Products' commercial business in India, including managing the relationship with Inox Air Products, a joint venture company. He also serves as a special advisor to the chairman and has leadership responsibility for a variety of functions, including generated gases, mid and large size cryogenic plants, environment, health, safety and quality, operational excellence and information technology. Mr. Richard Boocock.
Thank you. You can load it up. First one, Air Products. Okay. Okay. Forward. Forward, mate. All right. Good morning.
Morning.
How are we doing? Okay. So my name is Richard Boocock. I tend to present in a relatively high energy manner, because I think it's very important to get us off to a very high energy start. So many distinguished guests and presenters who've already made a few important points, and I'm going to build on those in my presentation. The topic I'm going to talk about is build, own, operate. There we go. Just had to find out where my slides were. The build, own, operate business model. Air Products, just to give you an overview, is an 80-ish year-old company. Founded in 1940, we are one of the biggest industrial gases companies. And what I'm going to take you through is how the build, own, operate model can really support the transformation of industries and transformational investments that we see taking place all over the world, and can bring an awful lot of value and move facilities to be truly world-class facilities. I'd first of all like to thank Mr. Prasad Panicker, my friend, who invited me to participate today. It's a great honor to have that opportunity. Thank you. Excuse me. I'm also Chief Information Officer at Air Products, so I guess I'm going to have to deal with this myself. Let's try it again. There we go. So Air Products today, we're just under $9 billion in sales. We have a market capitalization of about $52 billion, which makes us one of the biggest chemical companies in the Americas and heading in that direction in the world. As you say, we've been around for over 70 years. We have 170,000 customers around the world, and we work in more than 50 countries. We serve a very wide range of industries, but today we're going to focus on refining and petrochemicals. And specifically around that, we have a very large number of production facilities, somewhere around 50 hydrogen and syngas plants around the world, most of which are serving refineries and petrochemicals. And much of that gas is flowed through around 1,800 miles of industrial gases pipeline that we have. To give you an early statistic in terms of what we do, we produce every day over 2 billion cubic feet of hydrogen. Makes us the biggest on-purpose producer of hydrogen in the world. 2 billion cubic feet every day. And very reliably and very safely. Which leads me on to the comments around total safety. Our safety philosophy is that our target is 0 incidents. Our current lost time rate at Air Products is 0.06, and our recordable rate is 0.29 worldwide. At our facility in Kochi here in India, we completed the construction of the facility with just short of 10 million construction man-hours without a lost time incident. And we have just completed 1,000 or more than 1,000 operating days at our facility in Kochi without a single lost time incident. That is the performance that we expect. That is the performance we demand, as one of the things that was highlighted in the opening comments. It is a cultural issue, and culture can be changed, and safety can be delivered. all over the world. That is our philosophy. Our major offices are in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We are a US company, headquartered in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is about 2 hours drive west of New York City. We're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. We also have an office in a place called Hersham in the southeastern part of the UK, just outside London, an office in Shanghai, a manufacturing facility in Caojing, and something that I'm very involved in and very proud of in Pune here in India. We've expanded our presence here in India in the last 4 years from around 30 engineers to a target by the end of 2020 to have 800 engineers here in India, and with plans to further expand. What we offer the refining and petrochemical industry? Well, we're one of the safest large-scale chemical companies. We have operations in more than 50 countries. We've been in the hydrogen business since 1975. As I've already mentioned, we have a world-leading position in outsourced hydrogen. And one of the things I'll comment on as I go through my material is how we supported the transformation of the refining industry, starting first of all in California in 1992 with the clean air legislation, and then basically going through the different phases of transformation of the refining industry and phases that continue to develop. We supply about 40% of the hydrogen that goes to refining and petrochemical industries. We also do large-scale air separation units for oxygen supply, which is increasingly important as technologies like partial oxidation and gasification come into play. And we offer a complete technology portfolio for hydrogen and CO separation systems. This is the man that founded Air Products. Some of the comments in the opening speeches related to new capabilities like artificial intelligence and machine learning. Well, this man invented the build, own, operate philosophy in 1940. To use the modern expression, he was a disruptor. At that time, anyone that wanted industrial gases had to buy an industrial gases plant and own and operate and maintain it themselves. And you know, one of the things that is always interesting, because of one of the major industries at that time was the iron and steel industry. So you have an industry like iron and steel, which on one end of their facility is dealing with liquid iron and liquid steel at over 1,000 degrees centigrade. But to keep that plant running, they have to understand how to run an air separation unit that uses cryogenic technology and operates at minus 192 degrees centigrade. And that's a huge spectrum of skill sets and capabilities and know-how that needs to be embraced. So what this man did is he came along with both a commercial value proposition and a technical value proposition. The technical value proposition was, industrial gases is my business. I will invest in my capabilities to make Air Products the best industrial gases company in the world, allowing our customers, at that time mainly iron and steel companies, to invest in their business of becoming the best iron and steel companies in the world. And that's kind of still our underlying value proposition. It is not at all about saying that our customers are bad operators or bad engineers. It is about recognizing that all of us have limitations in finance, in talent, in skill sets and know-how, and enabling us to make strategic decisions around where we are going to get more value for our shareholders by focusing our capabilities. The financial value proposition is, as a build-own operator, we invest in the plant with our money. And one of the comments that was made earlier relating to equity coming into India, well, in the last 5 years, we've put over $500 million into India of our own money. This gentleman is Mr. Ghasemi, Seifi Ghasemi. He's our current chairman and CEO, and he's my boss. And he's the guy that is leading Air Products into the next phase of our journey for build, own, operate. And you can read what's on the screen. But one of the things that we believe very strongly is the capabilities that we provide and the services that we provide can truly help the world to become a better place. Some of the things that Mr. Panicker highlighted as things that he may be a little concerned about, like hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Well, we're one of the biggest suppliers of hydrogen refueling systems for fuel cell vehicles. So we quite like that. But we're also the biggest supplier of hydrogen to refineries and petrochemical facilities, and we like that too. We're also the world's biggest technology licensor for baseload LNG facilities. Around 80% of the world's capacity, or more than 80% of the world's capacity, uses our technology. And I wrote this slide before I'd heard any of the introductory speeches, but I think it actually fits very well. There's a lot of leaders on the stage. There's a lot of leaders in the audience and attending this magnificent conference. As leaders, one of the things we have to recognize is that there are no prizes in today's world for being average or mediocre. Being okay is not good enough. When we face the pressures that Mr. Panicker highlighted of declining margins, increasing environmental regulations, increasing enforcement of policies and standards and requirements, as leaders we have to set strategies that enable us to be world-class. And if you look at world-class companies around the world, many of them have recognized that to be world-class, you don't have to do everything yourself. One important point of being world-class is to find world-class partners with which to work. And that is how we position ourselves. And for those of you that are sitting in the audience with an iPhone in your pocket, which is hopefully on silent, that is one of the best examples of a world-class company that looks for world-class partners, because Apple don't actually make their iPhones. Apple don't make anything that goes into their iPhones. They work with world-class manufacturers and they work with world-class assemblers to deliver a world-class offering. So what is Build, Own, Operate? As I've already mentioned, Air Products pioneered the concept of building, owning and operating industrial gases plants several decades ago. In some parts of the world, BOO is often referred to as sale of gas or on-site supply, but it's pretty much the same thing. And under this model of gas supply, the customer outsources the supply of gases to Air Products, enabling the customer to focus on its core strengths. The alternative is what's often in the industry called the make case. Is this still a valid option? Some companies continue to choose to go the make case. Our colleagues from Reliance are a good example of that in terms of the scale that they've adopted at Jamnagar, where the customer in those cases would actually build their own industrial gases facility. And under the make case, the customer makes their own industrial gases. And they take on a lot of risk. And as I've said, some companies are comfortable with that risk, other companies are not. You take on technology risk. In particular, as engineers and as we have people from the EPC industry represented, one of the biggest things, in my opinion, is the integration risk of technologies. As facilities and complexes become more complex and more integrated, it is the integration of multiple technologies which presents one of the biggest challenges to whether something actually delivers on the investment objectives that a company has. Significant amount of risks in integration which are often under-recognized. Execution risk of cost and schedule. Financing risk, you have to find the money. Post-warranty equipment degradation and failure. The corrosion, the mechanical integrity issues, they all have to be managed. Post-performance test efficiency degradation. If you buy a plant, you have a performance test, you have a warranty. When it's passed its performance test, then you've got to take care of the degradation of the plant. An increasing example, which was referenced again in some of the opening comments, is that of human resource and talent risk. As I mentioned to some people earlier this morning, as we build our activities in India, one of the things that is very clear is India has a lot of people, but you have a shortage of skills. And the more sophisticated and complex our investments become, the more important those skills and capabilities become to determine success or failure. And the other element that's already been talked about are things like artificial intelligence and machine learning. Is as you look out over the next 10, 15, 20 years, 25, 30 years, 40 years, because refinery and petrochemical facilities, they tend to hang around for a while. What are the capabilities that you need to run a gases plant to world-class standard? And to sum it all up, one of the biggest challenges and the biggest risk is running the risk of being average, because average doesn't do it anymore. Under the outsourced BOO case, Air Products takes care of all those issues for you and more. We often bring our own technology. We take care of all the integration. We guarantee the overall plant performance across all of those integration layers, and we guarantee the performance and the efficiency of the plant for the duration of the contract. So to put it simply, you sign a 20-year contract with me, I will commit to an efficiency guarantee within that contract, and I will fulfill that efficiency guarantee for the next 20 years. I am the one that has to take care of equipment degradation and performance degradation, because otherwise I'm losing money. And that is a great motivator to take care of our equipment, to manage the corrosion that one of our colleagues talked about earlier. We take execution cost and schedule risk. As I've already said, we assure process performance through lifetime efficiency guarantees, as well as reliability and availability guarantees from day one of the duration of the contract. We provide capital for the investment, freeing up customer capital for investment in their core business, providing world-class human resources talent, and providing world-class capabilities, because this is our business. So we invest in our talent specifically for industrial gases. I would not stand in front of many of our colleagues today and try to tell them how to run a hydrocracker. But I would stand in front of my colleagues today and tell them how to run a hydrogen plant, because that is our business. And the investments in our capabilities include artificial intelligence and machine learning, something we've been doing for over 10 years on all of our facilities. We just tend not to call it artificial intelligence and machine learning. One of the things that we started in 1992 was to shift customers' buying habits. And prior to 1990, the vast majority of awards of industrial gases were, as you can see on the bottom left-hand corner, in the make model. 1992 was a turning point for the industry. 1992, California introduced clean air legislation, reducing the allowable sulfur content in transportation fuels, at a time when refinery margins were very, very narrow, when refineries were faced with significant transformational investments in their core industry and not actually having the capital and the human resources to actually put in the hydrogen system that was required to meet the clean air regulations. That is when Air Products started to move this market in 1992. And we've gone through the phases of low sulfur, low aromatics, into a world of deep conversion, of moving into more and more sophisticated refinery unit operations and more complex refineries, to an extent today where the vast majority of awards around the world follow the build, own, operate model. And one of the things that's driven this is the complexity of our customers' units. It's much more difficult to operate a complex refinery. The margins are much narrower. The implications are more significant. For anyone that's got a hydrocracker, and I won't tell you how to run it because I don't know how to run it, but one of the things I do know is if you interrupt the hydrogen supply to a hydrogen cracker for more than about 60 minutes, you're probably going to lose it for a day or two. And a world-scale hydrocracker every day produces, according to my data, somewhere between $3 and $5 million of output. One trip of your hydrogen supply loses you $3 to $5 million of output. If I can sign a contract with someone that says I'm going to have less than one trip per year, starting from day one of the supply contract, what does that do to the net present value of your investment? That's what you have to think about. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can't buy a cheaper hydrogen plant from someone, but it does mean that we can bring more value with our business model to your refinery. It Doesn't mean to say that your teams can't run a hydrogen plant, but can they run a hydrogen plant in year one that has no trips? Because the data that we have suggests that in year one, a new team running a hydrogen plant will typically have something like between 10 and 30 trips. And if that takes out your hydrocracker, think of how much that's going to cost. The BOO value proposition ultimately delivers a lower unit price and increased customer value over the life of the contract. That is the value proposition. Energy consumption is typically 3 to 5% better. We know how to run our plants tighter than many people would feel comfortable with because we apply our know-how and our technology. We know how to build a hydrogen plant so that the capital that goes into it, we understand which capital adds value and which capital just makes you feel better but doesn't add value. We don't put capital into our plant to make us feel better. We put it in there to add value. Operating and maintenance costs can be up to 10% lower. Extensive predictive and preventive maintenance programs. For any vendors in the room, I apologize now because we don't follow your manuals. We do not maintain our plant and our equipment on the basis of a manual that tells us that we've got to shut down the equipment and open it up every couple of years and see how it looks inside. We use condition monitoring, we use artificial intelligence and machine learning to determine the condition of the equipment and make an assessment of when we actually need to undertake maintenance and when we actually need to take that equipment out of service. I have personally run compressors where our vendor told us we had to shut them down every 2 years and take the top casing off, and we did not take the top casing off for 14 and a half years because we didn't need to. Reliability from day one contributes huge NPV to your investment and allows customers to focus on their core capabilities and primary business. So let's look at one of my favorite places in the world, God's own country, the state of Kerala, with apologies to people that don't come from Kerala. This is a close to $500 million investment that Air Products built in Kochi for our very valuable customer, BPCL. And as I often say, this is why I get out of bed in the morning. I'm a chemical engineer. I'm a fellow of the Institution of Chemical Engineers, and looking at pipes gets me excited. One of the things that's unique about our Kochi facility is the way that we've integrated a gas turbine into the SMRs. And we started off integrating gas turbines into SMRs back in 2000. This facility is our Port Arthur 1 facility in Texas. Serves the Valero Refinery, one of the world's biggest refineries. We started it up in 2000, produces 115,000 cubes an hour of hydrogen, 250 tons an hour of steam, and 37 megawatts of electricity off an integrated gas turbine. Port Arthur 2 came along in 2006, same customer, same location, 120,000 cubes an hour of hydrogen, 545 tons an hour of steam, 80 plus 20 in terms of electricity output. We have a steam turbine on this system as well. So one of the things we drive on our facilities is extensive integration. For people that are in academia, I know some people have retired from industry and gone into academia, we love thermodynamics. We love pinch points. We love finding an extra little opportunity to close those heating and cooling curves together and improve the efficiency of our processes. And here in Kochi in 2017, we started up a facility that produces more than 180,000 cubes an hour of hydrogen, up to 235 tons an hour of steam, and produces 18 megawatts. So this is what a standard SMR looks like. I'm not going to go through this in great detail. We've got lots of industry people here. But basically what you're doing is you're putting natural gas and steam across a catalyst to produce a syngas, which you're then separating through a pressure swing adsorption system. And of course you have to put a lot of heat into that to make the reaction work. So what we do with the gas turbine system is we put a gas turbine on the facility, and the exhaust gases from the gas turbine augment the fueling of the reformer. So we, to put it very simply, just exhaust the gas turbine into the refinery box, into the reformer box. What we have in Kochi is, and I'll skip over this because I've got a picture shortly. Let me touch on this just to make sure we keep on moving. Why do we want to integrate a cogen system into a steam methane reformer? If you need electricity because you're in an area where there's an unreliable power supply or you need to be able to run in island mode, then integrating the gas turbine generator can reduce your capital cost and improve your efficiency benefits by about 1%. And some people may say, well, 1%. Why go to all this trouble for 1%? Again, NPV over the life of the plant. You reduce your energy costs in a facility by 1% in your NPV, it's worth millions and millions of dollars. So what we do in Kochi is we have a gas turbine that actually exhausts into both of the plants. So what you can see here is two reformers side by side. The white vessels that you can see towards the back are our 10-bed PSA. And here at the front, you have the FD fans and the gas turbine generator. The gas turbine generator exhausts into both of the SMRs. The ID fan actually sits on the top of the reformer box. So what's one of the things that's technically challenging about this is one gas turbine exhausting into two SMRs. The risk of sympathetic trips. I have a wobble on an SMR, can it trip the gas turbine generator? I have a wobble on the GTG, can it trip one or both of the SMRs? Thank you. One of the things we've done recently is we've acquired some technology in the gasification space. We acquired Shell's coal and petroleum coke gasification technology and patents, as well as GE's gasification technology. And we formed a strategic alliance with Shell for gasifying liquids and residue. Why is residue important? Because you can't blend it into bunker fuel anymore. And if you put in a coker, you can't sell the pet coke because you can't burn it in a power station anymore. So one of the things that we see as a solution going forward is gasification of coke, for which we have the technology, and gasification of liquids, for which we have a joint venture with Shell. And this is where we are working with Shell to shift the licensing of that technology to also the sale of gas or build, own, operate model. In the gasification space, we've also picked up coal gasification facilities on a build, own, operate basis. This is a $1.3 billion facility that we have under our ownership and our operational responsibility in China. One of the things we've already seen since we commissioned this facility is we've gained the confidence and the evidence that we can shift the on-stream performance of these gasifiers by several percentage points, and we can shorten the downtime performance or downtime requirements of these gasifiers by many days, heading into weeks per year. And that is creating a lot of value for us, and is creating a lot of value for our downstream customer, for whom an extra day of syngas supply every year means they make more money in the liquid transportation fuels that they make in that facility. In Jazan in Saudi Arabia, we built the world's biggest industrial gas complex, a $2 billion facility to support Saudi Aramco's 15 Shell gasifiers that they have in Jazan. And last year, we announced that August 2018, we announced a joint venture with Saudi Aramco to take over those gasifiers and the power block. So we're actually converting that into roughly an $8 to $10 billion build, own, operate sale of a gas system in southwestern Saudi Arabia. And that unit is currently going through commissioning. As I've already touched on with gasification, some of the drivers relate to people that have lots of coal that may want to monetize it. India's a good example of that, but South Africa and China also feature. Countries with significant natural gas reserves that want to create additional value by converting natural gas to liquid fuel, because you can partially oxidize natural gas. And as I've said, refineries all over the world that need to solve either a pet coke problem or a vacuum resid problem. Gasification can be part of that solution. In terms of supply reliability, in our SMR fleet, we've had facilities that have run for over 1,400 days without an interruption. And the only reason we had to shut it down is because the customer wanted to take an outage and they didn't need our hydrogen. We're very proud of our on-stream performance and adding value to refineries. So in summary, because I got a nudge that we're running a little late and so I need to wrap up, but I will be here for much of the day if people want to ask me questions later. Why work with Air Products for the BOO model? We're the #1 hydrogen supplier to the refining industry and support a very large spectrum of petrochemical industries. We understand safety and reliability expectations, and we can work with our customers to go on that journey. We have the highest and best on-stream record of any HYCO company and any industrial gas company. We have alliances and our own technology that bring a unique combination of solving your problems, and we will always work to find the lowest cost and most innovative solution. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully I haven't delayed us too much. And thank you very much.